Welcome to another St. Pete by Night production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the grave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warring forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. Falcon never hide.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is an online World of Darkness role-playing community originated in St. Petersburg, Florida, but now spread to the world at large. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for the return of Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa, Florida, where the Sept of the Evening Star is dealing with a lot right now as they attempt to combat the forces of the worm, both physical and spiritual. And yes, this game actually is taking place fully in Tampa once more, but we'll get everybody caught up as to why that is in a moment. You should go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see listed down below. And if you like what you see, you should join our community by following the Discord link, where you could become one of over 100 members of the World of Darkness community who like talking about World of Darknessy things, as well as much more. And if you really like what you see, you should sign up for our Ko-fi and become a channel supporter, where for as low as $5 a month, you get access to all kinds of behind the scenes featurettes, including the Rosebud Thorns for all of our streamed shows, and much more. Because while we have been away the past 2 weeks, the Ko-fi has not been quiet. You have seen all kinds of sneak peeks of artwork for things yet to come in our story and in our game. So go sign up for the Ko-fi. I mean, it's $5 a month. Was at one point a extra value meal, bundle, but now it's not. So see, it's cheaper than a McDonald's meal. So why not go sign up for that right now and help support this channel, this community, and this very program. But before I get you caught up as to where we are now, why don't we introduce the amazing players that make this story possible? Players, welcome back, and go ahead and introduce yourselves if you please.
Hi everybody, I'm Champagne. Scoba, whatever you want to call me, and I will be playing Aspen Weiss, Philodox of the Silverfangs, and sick of this shit, but happy to be back.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nori, and I'll be playing Jester Silvertongue, the sad Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hey, beautiful people. My name's Preston. I play Jason Thorne, Theurge of the Bonar, and I'm happy to be relinquishing soon the rights of leadership, back handing the keys away.
Howdy do, how are all of you? I don't have an intro bit this week, just happy to be back. My name is Nick. I'll be playing Izzy, aka Entwines Smiles with Claws, the Alrune child of Gaia, who is not looking forward to the main leader coming back because he's going to get a second talking to.
So, it is our season 5 premiere, which, oh my god, 5 seasons now. That's insane. And if you missed our season 4 finale, you're probably going to be really, really confused hearing how this story begins tonight. But let's get you caught up regardless. We saw the Vermont story come to a crashing close while Aspen and Jester attempted to negotiate with King Jonas Albrecht to get Charles brought back into the Silverfangs, to try and bring him back from the grips of Hirano, to try and get some sense of control over all of the chaos that was happening within the North Country Protectorate and the Old Guru Nation. And just as it seemed they were making some headway, just as it seemed that after Jester had summoned forth Mari Cabra, the old packmate of Jonas Albrecht, that they had finally gotten through to him and that he was about to accept the Tear of Gaia that had been in the possession of Anastasia Volkova for who knows how long, disaster struck. But we will revisit that in just a moment. Meanwhile, in Tampa, Isidoro went to Jason asking for punishment for having lost control of himself while trying to deal with the riots, and he even went so far as to take down the ceremonial clave from the tree and asking Jason to behead him with it. Of course, Jason refused to do such a thing, saying that these kind of things are normal, and while it wasn't great and it definitely didn't help, he didn't think it was execution worthy, but it would really be up to the return of Aspen to cast true judgment. Isidoro also went to speak to the spirits in the form of Star and Unicorn, trying to figure out exactly what's going on with him, where he's going, what the deal is. And hopefully he received some valuable insight. But back in Vermont, disaster struck as the arrival of the infamous Zizek at the front of a Black Spiral army attacked the base of the North Country Protectorate, immediately sacking the place, murdering several of the Guru that stood guard there. This only allowed Aspen, Jester, and Artie a small amount of time to escape and a limited number of individuals they could save along the way. They managed to save Katerina Volkova, Elias, the once known Mari Albrecht, whose name is now Samira, as well as brother Tomas Varga. But of course, such actions don't come without a price, for as they were fleeing the facility, Charles was killed by Zizek in a very, very devastating maneuver. They also encountered Anastasia Volkova herself, having been gravely wounded trying to escape the area, and they saved her and have also brought the villain of the North Country Protectorate back to Tampa with them. And our story begins a few days later back at the cairn, once Aspen, Jester, and all of their individuals in tow have arrived and began settling into the city of Tampa. So, it is evening at the cairn of the Sept of the Evening Star in the state park of Hillsborough. By the fire, comfortably wrapped in sheets and cloths, is the body of Charles Albrecht, once warder of the Sept of the Evening Star. Despite the devastating cause of death at the lashings of Zizek, his form still is maintained thanks to the efforts of Brother Tomas Varga of the Silver Fangs in the North Country Protectorate. Through some rite or gift, he was able to give some shape and form to repair some of the damage that had been done to Charles's form. But it wasn't enough to restore life to a now empty shell. It seems the unbreakable can, in fact, be broken when faced with the entire might of the worm itself. The cairn has been populated, needless to say, the population almost doubling with the return of Aspen and Jester. Many unfamiliar faces to Jason and Isidoro seem to be moving about the area, but doing so respectfully, trying to keep their distance, trying to stay out of the way as much as possible until they are given some sense of what to do. And grief hangs heavily over the Sept, not just for the loss of Charles, but for the loss in the minds of many of these new arrivals of the old nation itself, with the death of King Jonas Albrecht at the hands of Zizek, the return of a figure believed to have been long since dead since the final battle, but seemingly still roaming amongst Gaia. As all of you gather together with Artie and Eliza, Brother Tomas Varga is knelt beside the body of Charles, still seeming to enact these rites to keep any kind of intense decay from taking hold of his form. Brother Varga, being the keeper of the dead of the North Country Protectorate, is well versed in such funereal rites and rituals. The others have given some space and some distance for this reunion of the pack and the Sept to discuss the matters at hand. So as all of you are called to the council table once more, the absence is notable as one of the seats sits empty that had previously been constantly filled. The scene is yours.
Aspen will push the box of thrifted clothes and blankets and other things off to the side of the table, half folded. She looks a bit frazzled, as if she's been trying to get everything as much as she possibly can together, while also dealing with everything that's happened already. But she finally sits at the end of the table and gets her undivided attention to the group.
Jester is dressed in what looks like spare clothes that were left around the cairn. Her hair is kind of a tangled mess, and she's just staring at the table blankly.
Jace, as he walks in towards the table, he'll go over towards Jester, kind of give her a squeeze on the shoulder, then look to Aspen, give her a head nod, and then take his seat.
Most of Izzy's discomfort about the scenario has been addressed in the previous night. He's done his best to sort of steel himself. And as he walks around to the new faces in the cairn, he'll give a warm word or two of, hey, you need anything? We got some food here. our resident stargazers making lemonade. And he will do everything in his power as he eventually settles down, taking his seat, to not look in the vicinity of the body.
Artie and Eliza are gathered as well. Artie definitely looks disheveled, having spent the last several days traveling and making arrangement, having not really had time to go home and change. He has helped procure some RVs and campers at Aspen's request to give the new arrivals someplace to stay, at least temporarily, until the whole situation can be figured out. Eliza, while being given a wide berth by many of the new arrivals, has somehow managed to make somewhat of a connection with Elias and Brother Varga, the two that are most willing to speak with her, considering her situation and station. At the moment, Eliza is not sat in her seat, but is instead standing behind Jester, just hands on both of her shoulders in an almost steadying but gentle manner. But Artie is positioned at his seat and seems to be going over a tablet, swiping through several things as if trying to make preparations to feed the five new individuals that have arrived at the Sept, as well as making preparations for supplies to make sure that they are at least taken care of in the interim. But you may continue, Aspen.
Aspen looks at the group. I'm not really sure how to start this this time. It was an unfortunate and devastating situation, and we're hoping that we could make arrangements once everything gets settled. But until then, I know emotions are high, but it seems there's a lot we have to talk about.
Izzy will sit up in the seat at that and go, before we address the elephant in the room, as warm foe of this sept, I do wish to offer words of protection and encouragement for old and new faces here. You are no doubt in the midst of unmooring yourself from up in Vermont. And with that, I can only offer condolences and my promise of protection to each of you. We have had issues here in Tampa, but know that compared to where you've come from, they are a loving daydream. By comparison, you are safe here.
Thank you, Isidoro. I think we should first speak about what has happened in Vermont, just to get everyone up to date. Anything that any of us might have missed.
I hope this isn't too forward, Larry says as he uncomfortably shifts in his seat. What did happen?
As all of you know, we went up to Vermont because Charles was being invited to take his seat as taking the crown from Jonas Albrecht. There was a lot of back and forth there, trying to figure out what was really going on. The one previously known as Maury was a potential in that situation, but all of that really isn't relevant anymore. As she kind of looks around the cairn at the new faces, Jester and I had a conversation with the king, and we're hoping to bring him back into the fold. If not ridiculous and futile, we tried, and it almost seemed like it worked. She'll look over to Jester.
He's going to take the tear.
He was going to, until Shijak and the other Black Spiral dancers infiltrated, killing Jonas Albrecht and others of the Sept of Vermont. We managed to make our way out, as you can tell, but not without many casualties. And she'll look over at the body, shake her head. But the fact is, the Black Spiral dancers are bold now and are planning things, and we are vulnerable.
Larry just nods his head with a somewhat confused but also worried look in his eyes, with his education being as pretty basic as it's been. The idea of Black Spiral dancers is still kind of a boogeyman to him, not a reality he can entirely wrap his head around. Eliza clears her throat. Do you believe the dancers are actually making a full-on assault now?
I think it would be unwise not to assume that. They hit the biggest, most prominent sept of all Guru.
Do you believe they're making their way here?
I think it's just a matter of time.
Well, we can't let that time happen.
I don't believe.
It'll be too late.
I don't believe we were immediately followed. I can't be 100% sure, but I don't think we were immediately followed, but I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be making their way to a number of other places that they deem important.
I don't think she's going to stop until all of the ones that fight for Gaia are crushed.
We should alert the other septs then, as soon as possible. I can work with Jason to start preparing messenger spirits to send out to all the various theurges and septs. Try and spread the word. I would not be surprised if we're met with some resistance and hesitation at first, but with your accounting and hopefully with the assistance of some of our new arrivals, we can stress the importance of it.
I agree, and at the smallest amount, any septs that any of you are close to, finding a way to reach out to them would be detrimental for them, I believe.
What about the other pack? How do you wish to break the news to them?
I will let Delphine know. I think it's best coming from Sept leader.
All right. Well, I'm here if you need any extra assistance with smoothing over everything.
I think we're going to need a lot of that moving forward. And she'll look at Artie. There's going to be a lot of people here hurting.
He pushes his glasses up and rubs the bridge of his nose. I figured as much. I've been preparing myself for a lot of conversations, but I'll be ready when it's necessary. And he looks to Jester and then to Izzy and Jace. I'm also here for all of you, first and foremost. This
Thank you,
is a terrible thing that's happened, but it's a reality we constantly have to face in this life, and that doesn't make it any easier or any better. But I have to believe this sacrifice is why we're able to be here. And eventually, we'll be able to recognize and honor that. Eliza then kind of furrows her brow. That all being said, I think we're all familiar that Charles took the oath to bond himself to this cairn.
Yes.
After hearing the tragic news, I've been waiting and watching out for his arrival. He hasn't shown up yet.
How long does it take?
Honestly, it should be almost instantaneous. Within 12 hours, I would say, at best. It's like passing on to the afterlife. It's immediate.
Izzy will look over to the resident Theurge and cast a very curious look at Jason before asking simply, are there rites or gifts that would allow, say, a black spiral dancer to prevent going to the afterlife?
Possibility. There's things that we just don't know, that things that they tamper with, things that we don't really touch. So I wouldn't put it past them that they've looked into something where they have something that would be anguish after death to cause further pain.
Well, much like Kat, she says, looking to Jace and Aiden, there are talismans that could trap a spirit before it's able to depart fully. From the sounds of the attack, they would have had to have wanted that effect, and I don't have any reason to believe they would have. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Aside from that, I don't know the strength of this rat or turtle's power or what this can do to that extent. We haven't fortunately had to experience that yet. But the lack of any kind of arrival, any kind of notice bothers me, but not necessarily. It's more of a curiosity than anything else. And it's something I'd like Jace, you and I to look into.
Absolutely.
I think she'll look over to the body one more time. Brother Varga is a good ally to have in that as well.
Yes, he's been very communicative and accommodating since he's arrived. I think he is a necessary asset in this time.
There's a strong connection to death and the spirits and all of that. So if you guys are going to be looking into that, use him where you can.
Artie says, as far as another matter is concerned, what do we plan to do with these new arrivals as a whole? We can coast them for a little while, but our supplies are pretty strapped as is, and if we're preparing for a potential conflict coming up, we're going to need to save everything that we can and invest it appropriately and wisely. We took a hit on our finances just getting those trailers here to give them temporary housing. I don't know if we'll be able to feed, clothe, and provide for them indefinitely.
I think right now, since it's so early, we do the best we can to make them feel comfortable, and if they want to go somewhere else afterwards, that's fine. They know the risk, and if they want to stay, we find a permanent way for them to stay and help.
Okay, I can make some connections and spread things out a little bit more to see if I can make that happen. We've got probably at least a good 30 days, no problem, but after that, things are going to get tight.
I can help. The funding that I was using to help Ravi and the rest of them, that I'm not necessarily using that, just having that set to the side. So if you're needing food or supplies or anything like that, I can reutilize those assets and help in this.
Okay, yeah, that would help a lot.
You and
I
can
have
better-
a practically minimum wage job, but whatever money I make, I know where it's going next.
I appreciate that. And Jace, you and I can find out where the money goes or where it needs to go and make it happen.
Yeah.
What
All
about
that?
What about Anastasia? Already asks. They were, I think, all of us can agree, a thorn in our side while we were up there, and possibly even partially responsible for all this happening. What do we do with them?
I'll have a conversation with them. Figure out what their intentions are. Because we don't need another adversary right now.
Okay. Again, I'm here to help.
Yeah. All that being said, we've now more than ever, we've got to get our house in order, guys. We have to. And from the information I've been getting from Jace, there's a mess in our house right now. Explain what the pressing matters are, Jace, if you don't mind.
As far as the you'll look towards Izzy. The recent events, there's the rioting going on. There's one individual that we believe is the cause of this. He is a former member of the Raiders. He was there during the split. He also, the name is Ricardo Estevez. He has a tattoo of the Raiders on his back. He also applied to the gym that Izzy frequents. The events that have transpired, I believe that he's been at the riots that have been going on. He'll pull out a piece of paper and draw out the glyph and kind of set it towards the center table. This has been cited at the gym and at the current place. So, and the fact that this guy is a guru and he's been going unnoticed for I don't know how long. He'll look towards Aspen. I want to help you find this guy. I know that he medium build. He rides an older cruiser bike. He's got a residence that he was at about a year ago. Izzy and I went and looked at it. The trail's gone cold since seeing him at that riot, though. I don't know where he's at, and I can't track him down.
Kit, do I remember Ricardo from the bikers and the split? Because I was there for the split and before.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, he didn't stand out necessarily, but I think from your time with the bikers before the split, his name would have been about. I mean, he wasn't any high-ranking position. He was just kind of a member amongst the raiders before the split, but he was definitely one of the ones to leave immediately as soon as the split happened.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jester.
He was one of the ones to leave when the split happened. He didn't speak up a whole lot when I was around before.
Okay. As far as that goes, Jace, I know you were working on that pretty heavily while we were gone, and I appreciate that, but I think this sending messages to the other seps and potentially figuring out this Charles situation, I think you're going to be the best one on that. So I know you were close to it, so if it is okay with you, I'd rather you do the focusing on that side.
I'm here to do as you will. So if that's where you'd like me to be, I'm more than happy to do that. And as far as this place goes, I had a conversation with Turtle, and they're doing everything they can to keep this place safe. So what happened in Vermont, they didn't have, and you'll look towards the structure. They didn't have him. We do. And made some arrangements with the Ratkin. They're helping patrol around the areas. They're staying outside of the bond itself, so that way they don't get lost within here. And we had a conversation with Suni and the big bear guy. Preston forgot the name of him.
Braxton,
thank you. And Braxton, they are Izzy, how would you put, not necessarily willing, but open to assistance?
Passively supportive.
There we go.
Suni's reliable. I know that much. But I think it's also important, and she'll look over at Jester. She'll hesitate for a moment. I think our allies need to know what's happening. They need to be protected as well.
I'll go talk to him.
Thank you. As far as the riots go, Isidoro, you've been working on that, and I know we have to have a longer discussion.
Agreed.
And Jester, go ahead.
My own activity with the riots, I will be the first to admit, has been subpar. Jason has done majority of the work, in my opinion. And at best of times, I've been neutral, and other times I've been a hindrance.
hindrance, I wouldn't say. You were able to point out certain things that if you didn't give the prompt, I might have missed. And your overall inside connection to these areas have been beneficial. You can do it, and I'll give you all the information that I have to help aid this. You're not going to be alone in it. I'm just going to not be taking the forefront on it.
Eliza speaks up and says, Isidoro was also our first point of contact when these riots started to impact us. He was the one who brought our attention to the whole matter as being potentially problematic on our side of the fence. So, boy, don't be so harsh on yourself.
All right. I'll try not to be. Sorry, just old habits with failure. Brighter news. Well, I say brighter, different news. The interactions the Hellhounds have been having with the Cult of Fenris have been not overtly bloodthirsty. And if the Black Spiral Dancers are indeed making the warpath, we might have an enemy of my enemy situation going on. And they may not respond kindly to our attempts to entreat for words or any of that, but if they are presented with the opportunity to fight a foe, especially one being led by the damn scariest Black Spiral Dancer anyone can think of, that might be an opportunity for us. And we, as Wormfoe, I recommend we consider relying on the Hellhounds' closeness with the cult in order to maybe leverage them in the direction of any Spiral Dancer activity.
Well, that may be true, Isidoro. There is the potential that the carnage along the way is going to cause bigger problems. They don't act in the same way we do. So to that, we would have to be 100% sure. Because the people, the lives, the ones who don't get to know could be hurt in the process.
I don't doubt that. I'm just letting you know what a strategy would be. Because as you said, and with that, Izzy looks around. I see many Garu here, but raise your hand if you consider yourself a true warrior. Izzy looks particularly at the new people. How many of them are?
They're not actually at the meeting, so they're they gave some space for this reunion and official, as they're not part of the Sept. They didn't want to intrude upon it.
Then I take that back.
I appreciate the thought process, regardless.
Eliza, whose demeanor changed at the mention of the Cult of Fenris somewhat abruptly. I think this foolishness with the cult has gone on long enough. While I had intended on a different approach of handling that issue should it come to it, I think that we need to take a more direct and imposing approach. If things are as dire as they seem to be and a fight is coming, I think it's time for the Fenris to decide if they're with us or against us, and if they're going to be against us, they won't be for long. We don't have time to dally about with their intrigue, and whatever personal matters are holding up this being resolved, it needs to be put down immediately. She looks to Aspen, and not in any drastic sort of way.
She'll just nod and slowly pull her gaze away from Eliza. We figure it out. They either get out of our space, or they get ready for the fight we're all eventually going to have to fight.
Worst comes to worst, as Isidoro said, we have the biggest and most appealing target to them, as well as its last known location. If nothing else, we can bait them away up to Vermont by telling them what we've experienced. If that's not enough to take them away, then it was never about combating the worm to begin with.
Okay. Is there anything from the Hellhounds that we should all be aware of?
Larry, at this point, speaks up and says, I think I remember hearing talk about them encountering potentially, maybe it was the Ricardo guy, but somebody who was suspicious. I don't have all the details. You might need to follow up with Delphine, but I know there was reports of a strange encounter at another gathering. Thankfully, it was ceased before it became too out of control.
Izzy pulls out his phone and begins thumbing through recent messages before pulling up the text from Quinn and presents it to the group and goes, "Is this the stuff you're talking about with the weirdo with the coat?"
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Okay. So a potential correlation in the riots as well. Jester, you've got your connections with the Howlers.
I also have connections with various activist groups. If they're inciting riots, they're probably starting the groups that already want to do protests.
And I'm
I
gonna
can
put
look
you
into it.
gonna put you on the riot stuff with Isidoro if you're up for the task.
I can do it.
Okay.
I'll be glad to have you.
Artie finally sets the tablet down, rubbing his forehead once more. What about the leeches? We still have that group that I guess we're not entirely opposed to, but also not entirely friends with. I've been keeping news alerts going in their area, and I got a pop of a bar burning down in their neighborhood. As far as I know, or at least as far as we've heard reports of from Skeeter, this was their place.
Are they still alive? Whatever they are.
We know what you mean.
Jason, you would have heard from Skeeter that yes, they are still alive. His associate tracked them and that they weren't on premises when it happened. Although she was, but she barely escaped.
Peter let me know as far as when I last heard, they're still alive, lack of a better term.
I guess we don't need another adversary, as I said before. Conversation, information might be wise.
Nothing else that can keep an eye on the other leeches for us. Let us know if they're planning on breaking the truce, or at least keeping them busy so that they don't.
It's my thoughts as well. If we can keep them playing in their own backyards, then we've got bigger fish to fry at the moment. And if all of this goes the way of the Black Spiral Dancers, the leeches won't matter anyways.
I'll go
Or they
with you.
could matter all the more. If they join the Black Spiral Dancers, then we have more problems. I mean, if it ends, if the Black Spiral Dancers do what they want to do, yeah, you're right, it won't matter. But when it comes time to face them, if we have assaults on both sides, we know they've worked together in the past. We don't need them helping that matter.
Exactly.
He does
Look
bring up
over-
a good point.
Look over at Jester real quick. Are you sure?
Bateman has a habit of, or was around in the past when they worked with Black Spiral Dancers. He'd be an easy way in. Having somebody who's having a group of leeches that are causing trouble for him as a distraction might be a good idea. Besides, Sijak's more important.
Okay. All right. Jace. Sorry. What? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna bring up the conversation I had with Bateman. First, that guy talks in circles, but when bringing up the different things going on, he is very much in the loop, and he is planning something. When the subject about the university was brought up, I didn't see any type of shift or fear or anything about going on or what's happening to his territory. In the past, leeches, when brought up that Guru were going to be coming in, they cower within themselves. There was none of that with him. So he's got something in his back pocket. I don't know what it is, but there's something sitting back there, an ace up his sleeve.
Well, maybe if we can get a good eye on the other ones, maybe they'll get the information of what's really going on there. Also, he's an arrogant prick, so who knows?
True.
Are we missing anything?
I'll look to the body for a moment and then I'll look back. I'd like to take the position of warder. We need it more than we need a master of challenges.
I can't think of anyone who would oppose.
I don't think there's anybody more fitting.
Okay.
He'd be proud of you.
He always was.
Jace will look towards Aspen. All right, so getting in contact with the other seps. We got people in the riots. Leeches are taken care of for the most part. Fenris is off to the side. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else you're needing us to do? Because right now I feel like you have, both of you and Artie have had a lot happen. So if you guys need time, we can hold it down for at least a couple more days to give you guys the time you need.
We don't have time, Jace. No one has time.
Okay.
At the very least, do you have any directives for us now that you are back?
I need you working on the riot stuff, Izzy. We need to get that buttoned up
Consider it done.
as soon as we possibly can. And Jace, I need you to get things out. You and Eliza, I need you to get things out to the other seps because they can't be caught unaware. I don't know where they're going next, and we gotta assume every target is a target. And in between all of that, I need you to bring Charles home.
Can do.
Once you bring him home, we can put him to rest.
Eliza says, they took a strike directly at the heart of the nation, or what was left of it. My guess would be that they are going to spread out from there, try and separate whatever's left of loyalists in half, possibly even divide the country in half and just take out one side or the other. Aspen, since you're going to speak with Delphine, and since Quinn is tolerating me at the moment, I think it would be best if you told Delphine that Quinn should reach out to his former sept up in Vermont. My guess is due to proximity there next.
It's one of the things on top of everything else, is if you have someone close to you, if you have a sept close to you, reach out to them. Gonna let Terrence know to reach out to Georgia, and of course Eliza, you too, but just to make sure we're covering all our bases.
I'll stop, look to Aspen. If Matthias is better, I don't know if that's been fixed yet, but he might be good to talk to reach out to contacts he has.
I'll talk to Delphine and see what we know about that situation.
Might also be good, Jester, if you give a call into West Virginia. You left a good, lasting impression with them upon your last visit. I'm sure they'd be happy to hear it from you.
I will. I'll contact them.
There is time to be sad. I think Charles would deserve nothing less. But only take the time you need. Don't let it take you. We will get his spirit back. I promise you that. So he is not gone, he is just taking his sweet ass time getting here. So once you've had time to grieve, then it's time to work. Because if we can't get past that grief, they won and did exactly what they wanted to do. There are going to be other septs that are suffering that same grief and may not be able to recover from it. Let us not be one of them. Aspen, what are your final marching orders?
Jace and Eliza on spirits, the help of Varga. If possible, he's going through his own things, so, but I think he'll be helpful in that. Isidoro, Jester on the riots. Eliza, I need to have a conversation with you before we ever try to figure out what we're going to do with Fenris. And Artie, You and I are welcoming committee.
Should be easy enough. I have a relationship with Elias, as you know. I think he can be very helpful, considering his past experience and knowledge with getting others acclimated to foreign situations. Larry, at this point, speaks up once more. I'd really like to help with the riots, too, if I could.
Absolutely. If you think you'll be useful in that direction, of course.
This is my home. These have been my streets, and they're making a mess of them. I know the Howlers wouldn't have any of it, so I'd rather that myself and all of those resources are at Jester and Isidoro's disposal. At least, if anything, we can be a peacekeeping force as groups start to form. If they're in for a fight, then we'll know that it is not natural.
Absolutely. I think that's perfect. And Jester, when you can. I'm sure Jace can talk to the Ratkin. I'll try to reach out to Suni and Braxton, but the others, let them know what we're getting into.
Okay.
As this meeting comes to a close, everyone knowing their path forward, question is, are they prepared to walk it? Because grief can be like barbed wire on a fence. It can tangle you up. It can cover you in 1,000 tiny cuts. And if necessary, it can prevent you from going where you need to go. Doesn't mean it isn't deserved. Doesn't mean it isn't right. But in times such as this, it can be the water that douses the fire or the fuel that feeds it. We now transition to our next scene. Jester, ever since you returned to Tampa, really even most of the way down from Vermont after you finally awoke from your supernatural sleep, you've remained in lupus form. Primarily because it's a really easy way to mask what's going on. But also because in a time like this, it feels maybe comforting. But tell me, what is going through Jester's mind currently?
There is a voice constantly just repeating he's dead over and over, along with a roaring, but it mixes with another voice I tend to mute out or ignore that's always there. And at the moment, I'm just kind of pushing them aside and trying to focus on making sure, trying to get, like Aspen said, our house back in order. Make sure the sept is safe, make sure my pack is safe, where I can let those really flood in.
Now, you haven't returned to your apartment. You've stuck solely to the cairn ever since your return. But you know that you aren't the only one that's experienced loss, and as you are prowling around the barn, you see another campfire, not the bonfire that takes place at the center of the cairn, but a smaller, contained source of light from what looks to be a makeshift camp further out in the bawn, away from the center of the cairn itself. At first, as you approach, you think maybe this could be a hiker that has strayed too far from the paths, or maybe a trespasser, possibly human, possibly not. It's hard to say. It's easy to get lost in these woods if you don't know where to go, partially due to the cairn's influence on it. But as you draw nearer, you see that no, this isn't an individual who strayed from the path. This is an individual who has purposefully chosen a place of solitude. As you see, Katerina is sat by the fire, and looking upon her through your lupine gaze from a distance, you recognize the face because it's a face that matches the face inside. Empty. Lost. And angry. And seeing that face takes you back to those moments when you came upon Katerina in the manor, fighting side by side with the one you know she shared a special relationship with, Ingrid. And when you had the choice to save either one of them, you chose Katerina. And in the final moments, Ingrid forced her to leave before being cut down. Looking upon this woman that was so imposing upon your first meeting, tall, confident, maybe even slightly alluring, depending on where your predilections lie. You realized she was nothing like her mother and a lot more like her father. But that also she was a warrior. And that she would fight for what she believed in no matter what. And if anybody could understand the loss you're suffering now, it's her. So as you prowl maybe a good 20, 30 yards away, what do you do?
I'm going to stare at her for a little bit, then kind of with just a huff, I'll shift into Hamid and walk towards the campfire. I'm not trying to sneak up. I'm purposely making noise.
She doesn't turn her gaze away from the burning flames that almost seem to mirror in her eyes the flames that were overtaking the Morning Kill estate. As you looked back one last time before departing. Once you get within maybe 20 feet, you see that she scoots over on the log that she's sitting upon, giving just enough space for you to sit beside her, as if she's acknowledging and aware of your presence and not making any motions to deter you from this action.
I will go sit on the log beside her. Not really say anything. Just stare at the fire with her.
I am going to kill her.
Not if I do it first.
I think you would agree that it would be a lot easier if we did it together.
Yeah,
I am sorry for what happened to Charles.
I'm sorry for what happened to Ingrid. I'm sorry we couldn't save her as well.
I'm not sure she would have let you even if you tried. But I am not sorry. Because as I said, I am going to avenge her. I'm going to avenge them all.
Do it with you. She needs to go.
For
Otherwise,
real this time.
For real this time. Otherwise, I don't see any hope for us if she's still around.
Duh. We're not ready yet.
I can't leave anyways. Not now. My sub's kind of a mess at the moment.
That's why you're wrong. You could. But it would help no one, not even yourself. And believe me, I thought about it the entire way down here. You just happened to beat me to doing what I would have done.
Lose control again?
Ah,
Yeah.
but it's not just Jace that needs to die. Gaia needs us to live. Now more than ever. And I'm saying this partially because I think you need to hear it, but partially because I'm trying to convince myself. Because every instinct in me is to go running from this fire as long as it takes to face her. Realistically, I know I would never get that chance. Not alone. Not even just the two of us. She brought an army.
So you're saying we need to build an army first?
Ah,
You knew my name. Bat knows my name. Apparently I've made an enemy. I was thinking about using that to try to get to her. Artie has this trick that he can hide objects in his skin. Maybe I could get a silver bomb or something. That should probably
Jace
right.
is a coward. She only showed herself when she knew she'd already won. If you think her pride outweighs her zealot-like devotion to her cause, we will make them choke on your name. But not tonight.
All right. So what do we do?
Charles told me he had been training you.
Yes, Tad.
I could clearly see it in your fighting. But I was Charles's first teacher.
I thought that was your father.
He would like to take credit for it, sure. We train. We prepare. Because we are fighting a foe who does not care if they live or die. They want the end for everything. And that fucking whip. I will strangle her to death with it.
I'll help you hold her down. While I'm stabbing her with the sword.
Can't be too sure.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. In times like this, it is easy to believe we have lost everything. We haven't. They just gave us what we needed to get the job done. Anything else is dishonor to them.
Okay. To look around this campfire. Camper's not enough for you?
My mother is there. I am not sure I could control myself if I were to face her in this moment.
I get that. I It's been nearly 7, 8 years since I saw my adopted mother, the one who raised me, and I'm still not ready to see her.
Why not?
Because I don't know how much I could control myself when I actually do either. And there was a lot of pain she stood by and watched me suffer.
Was she the cause of the pain?
Some of it. But some of it was from trying to protect her. And she kept putting us into situations that would cause more of it.
Do you love her?
Yes.
Then I am going to challenge both of us to give them the chance to apologize. Because if they loved us, if they still do, they will. And if they don't, we will never have to wonder if they did.
2 challenges. All right.
I think you'll find of the two, this is going to be a great deal easier. At least physically.
Physically, yes.
I'm glad he had you. The Charles I saw was not the Charles that had left. And he was better for it.
Was. So, in a way, I'm glad he had you in his childhood.
We were here, I'm not entirely sure he'd agree with that sentiment, but I was a precocious child. I'm Russian, what can you do?
But you guys were sort of friends, weren't you?
Ah,
At least he wasn't completely alone.
no.
Neither were you. I think he would have realized that eventually.
I know he did.
I think Ingrid was happy. Whatever time she had with you.
Ingrid was a ferocious warrior. With a gentle heart. And what she couldn't use in body, I gave her in spirit. Shield for her heart. Being lupus born, they can struggle to understand this world. But that doesn't mean they don't feel it. They don't feel its pain. They don't understand just how wrong everything is. That is where I helped her. That is where I protected her, and that is where I fell in love with her. We both knew one day we would have to part. She would have to return to her tribe. Prepare for whatever lay ahead. I had just hoped it wouldn't be so soon. That we had more time. But time isn't promised to anyone.
No, it's not. It's funny. I was the one that didn't want the relationship. Because I knew something like this would happen. He told me to enjoy what we had, and I did. But it never prepared for what happened afterwards.
Neither did I. There wasn't supposed to be an afterwards.
No, there wasn't.
I would say I have a bone to pick with you for making that the case for me. But instead, I choose to thank you. Because you have given me the opportunity to do something about it. You have shown me what I get to do afterwards.
And that's build an army.
Ah. And what we can't have for ourselves, we can be for each other. Which is strength.
Okay. I can do that.
I know that is what he'd want me to be for you. And I believe that's what she'd want you to be for me.
I think so too.
Tonight, we cry. Tomorrow, we train.
Sounds like a good plan.
I will get you to her. Do not give up on me before then.
I won't.
And go see your mother. Because you may not have another chance to.
Fine.
Fortunately, mine is constantly in my face currently, so it will happen eventually, but...
It's okay if you have a break. If you want to stay somewhere else. Charles had an apartment complex. Could probably find a place for you there if you need even more space.
This is where I belong. This is where I must be. But I appreciate the offer. You are very strong.
So I've heard.
So you can trust it coming from me. I don't say that to just anyone.
Well, thank you. You're also very strong.
Uh, you are more than welcome to stay in my camp if you do not wish to return home, to which I understand having no home to return to.
I think I'll stay tonight. But much longer, and Eliza's probably going to come looking for me.
I have not had the opportunity to speak with her yet. But it is clear how much she cares.
She does.
That was unexpected to see, but seeing how you and Aspen and Artie and Charles behave, it is clear everyone here cares. And that is foreign to me. In Vermont, most acted out of obligation and responsibility, which was easy to mistake for caring.
Might have been said before, but I think the king's Arano affected more than him in that place.
It is all we knew. Those of us of the younger generation. Thank you for getting me out of there.
You're welcome. Part of me, I think part of me would have let you stay, but the other part, the part in that moment, was trying to save as many people as we could. 'Cause nobody should die like that.
I'll bet he should. But I fear many will in what's to come.
That's why she needs to be stopped.
We may try, but both you and I, if this has taught us nothing else, have to respect that we can't save everyone.
I know.
Just keep reminding yourself of that, because I will need to be reminded.
And I guess we remind each other.
At this point, she awkwardly reaches over and takes your hand and gives it a squeeze.
I'll squeeze it back.
After that, she goes quiet, her eyes returning to the fire, watching it burn, continuing to fuel the fire inside of her. What is Jester feeling now after this conversation?
A little more steady. At this point, I have an endpoint. And not exactly a plan, but the beginnings of something. the beginnings of a plan on how to get to Zizek.
As the first half of our story comes to a close, roll me a wits and awareness.
What's my rage at?
I would say you're probably at a 1, but not because you're happy, or not because you're content, but just because you're so drained from everything.
I'll spend a willpower. 3 successes.
As you're settling in for the evening, maybe turning back into your lupus form, preparing to curl up or burrow slightly. Out of the corner of your eye, you see something bizarre. You cast 2 shadows. Not just one. And as you blink and try to study it further, for a moment you might think to yourself it was a trick of the light. Multiple light sources burning can have that effect where it'll cast a shadow one way and the other. But these 2 shadows were side by side. This is where the first half of our story comes to a close, and we go to break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half of tonight's tale. Welcome back.
I just
As we return, we find ourselves at the cairn several nights later. Jason, you've been given a very important task in finding out what happened to Charles's spirit. In the intervening days in between, you joined Eliza at times in watching for it, hoping that maybe it had just been delayed. Maybe it was running behind, but fearing something far, far worse. That it had been taken, trapped, maybe even destroyed. So as evening falls on the 5th night since the return of Aspen, Jester, Artie, and Charles's body, what's going through Jace's mind currently?
Worried, upset. The fact that Charles, his spirit, has not arrived. The sheer fact of knowing, going through the books that Eliza has and different teachings, this is supposed to be instantaneous. Upon death, you come back. And everything that he's heard, all these different rituals, rites that he's been part of, it's always been this instantaneous fact. So this part of him trying to figure out that itch that happens whenever he has something that he can't get the answer to, and he's focusing on it. But the anger that he's feeling, the spirals have taken from Jason a lot. They took his sept, they took everyone that he knew from his previous life, and now they took away someone that he held closer than a friend. They were a mentor and a brother to him, and that has been taken by them as well now. And so he's putting all of his focus to try and get this in. And the fact that he's not the only one suffering from this, that the entire pack is needing this to happen, is needing Charles to get back. He's going through every book that Eliza has, every manuscript, trying to find something, a clue somewhere.
There's not a lot to be gleaned about what comes next after a guru dies. This whole cairn stands somewhat in defiance of that, because it does give a definitive answer as to what comes next to those who have bound themselves here. Seeing the ancestral spirits moving through the cairn is almost unheard of. Now there is rites and rituals that allow Guru to call upon ancestors. You've seen Jester do it before. You've seen Eliza do it before. But really what they're calling upon is a memory, a essence left behind. Not necessarily truly the spirit itself, but the mark it made on the Umbra, on the world, on Gaia. The true afterlife is still a mystery for Guru. Now the teachings, the history, the stories would tell you that they are reunited with Gaia, returned to her. But is that really true? You kind of have to take a good amount of that on faith, because nobody has returned from that place, as far as we know. Nobody's come back to life with visions of bright white lights or what comes next. At least not in any of the stories that have been recorded or reported. Death is death. It is final. And to kill a Guru, it's got to be final, because they can recover from a great deal of punishment. So as you're sat with Eliza in the folding chairs outside of one of many RVs and campers that have started to collect within this cairn. Both of you are looking outward to the sky, to the trees, hoping yet for another night for the arrival, the incoming presence of Charles. But with how many nights it's been, more than a week at this point since his death, somewhat of a fruitless hope. He's not coming to this place. Why? The great mystery. Why? What happened that broke a pact between you and this cairn? A pact between you and Turtle. Even though Turtle wasn't here when the pact was made, this is of his creation. What went wrong? With Turtle being back, the cairn has been more potent than ever. The spirits don't just come out for rites and rituals, they can be seen walking the grounds by those that have the sight to see it, by those that have bound themselves. Why is this different? Is it because of the mythical return of a being believed to be long since perished, destroyed, the Messiah of the worm? If that's the case, is there any hope for any of the spirits here? Does the rite of binding hold any strength against such a force? But Gaia's stronger than the worm, right? The worm is a part of Gaia. It's a part of the triad that makes up Gaia. Could it really be so strong at this point that it can overtake Gaia's power and will? As a theurge, you know it's been gnawing away at it for as long as you can remember, and even longer before that. But it's never fully beaten. As if it did, nobody would be here to tell the tale of. Or would they? As all of these thoughts are crashing against each other in your mind, Eliza looks over to you. You did a good job, Jason. Jace. As leader.
He'll look, as he was looking down with all the thoughts pondering in his head, he'll look over to her, side-eyed glance. Yeah, I did what I was asked to do.
You did it well, and you should know that.
I appreciate it.
You can believe Turtle in saying that this place would be safe no matter what. But it's safe because of you. Because of Isidoro. You gave them a place to come back to.
It was a group effort. The pack stepped up. They did a lot of the heavy lifting.
That includes you.
I was present.
You are the tip of the spear.
And hopefully soon I can go back to being more towards the back. The forefront. It's a bit of a scary place.
I'm going to tell you a secret and you're not going to like it.
I'm sure.
You can never go back.
That's really unfortunate. Now you're right. I don't like that secret. You know, and that's weird because I'm all about them.
You can stand to the back, sure. You can do what supporting figures do. But your mindset is forever changed because now you know the burden that a leader carries. You know the stress and the anxiety, and you're not going to be able to look at situations through any other eyes ever again.
No. My original perspective on everything. I looked at every situation almost like a chessboard. That moves were being made, and I was against. It was just me and one other opponent. Being put up front, this board is really fucking big, and there's a lot of people you're playing against. I had a lot of respect for Aspen prior and Jester, but seeing what they have to do day in, day out, I don't know how they do it.
They're going to need that insight going forward. Everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, this newfound respect you have for them, they're going to need you now more than ever. And they needed you quite a great deal before. But now, they're shaken. And who wouldn't be in a situation like one they experienced firsthand? This wasn't just the loss of someone important. This was the return of true evil to the world. We all thought the final battle had happened. I believe the final battle is still to come now, knowing all this.
I agree.
They're going to
Concern
need
is-
your strength and insight.
I'm happy to provide what I can. My concern about what happened up there. We were struggling just with the numbers that we had. If there's other seps, if they can take out some of the strongest guru that we had, the other seps I'm concerned about. If they had the skeleton crew that we're trying to run, if the numbers are accurate from what we heard about what just happened and what happened in Michigan.
I agree. That's why we can't dilly-dally anymore. They have no old nation to rely upon anymore. Truth, they probably haven't for a long time, but saying so was enough to delude them to the idea that they did. There's no king. There's no throne. There's no one to pass the buck to now. Some of them will likely have an easier time of accepting that. Maybe they understood this whole time they've been on their own. Others, they're going to need convincing. Some, we're going to lose.
Getting pretty sick of losing.
You and me both. I'm going to give you a stargazer secret.
Your patron? Because that'd be cool.
No.
Okay.
Auspices are a construct, a framework created by Guru. You are not restricted to what moon you are born under, though they would have you believe otherwise. Your auspice isn't your identity. It isn't your purpose. It isn't your calling. It is a box you were put in to make sure that all of the jobs were covered. To make sure we didn't have a ravenous nation of Arun who would go out so fast in a burning blaze of glory that this war would have ended centuries ago. It took me leaving the Children of Gaia to recognize that, because in the Stargazers, there are no auspices. I call myself a theurge because that's what all of you will understand. And because it's what I trained for a good majority of my Guru existence. When we left the construct that was the nation, we left the construct of what many understand to be Guru.
So you're trying to break down walls that were put up long ago that is structured to what I know.
I'm not trying to break them down. I'm trying to make you see they aren't as tall as you think.
Those who are born under our moon, mine, I guess, are more inquiring to spirits. And I've seen, now I won't completely disagree. I've met some Arun, and now Arun usually have a hard time with spirits. I've come across a few who do deal with spirits pretty well. Not as well as we do as Theurge, but we're chosen by Gaia for a reason. You're saying that the reason is not dictated by the moon, but by the person itself.
Yes.
That
Your
I can
ability to
follow.
talk to spirits, was that innate or was that taught?
I talk to him like I talk to anyone else.
Why couldn't anybody else? We're
Some spirits
told that you have to be a certain way, a certain type of person to have a good relationship with the spirits. There are spirits that are aggressive. And look at Fenris. Arun would have a great time talking to Fenris, or what we dub as Arun. But no, Arun are told to rely on their strength, on the fight, to be the protectors, the vanguard. Why? Because we need someone to.
So what do you call them? The warriors of the stargazers, the ones who are on the front lines.
Guru.
Just an umbrella for a
We're
moment.
all on the front lines, Jace. Some of us choose our front line to be in the Umbra, others choose our front line to be on the ground. And we can move between those lines. We can back up the front line on the ground when it starts to falter. We can step in and take the place of the wounded and injured. Gaia gave us the exact same abilities that they gave the Arun. The ability to be strong and fast and tall and hairy and quick. It was the Guru and some of the patron spirits that started to define things, that started to fine-tune how it's supposed to work. And yes, it took a very controversial move, like stepping outside of all of that to see it for what it is. But no. The Stargazer tribe, I suppose. We don't have auspices. We have each other.
I like parts of that. I guess that way of thinking, instead of putting yourself into a box, dabbling amongst everything that is Guru, everything that we are, you're able to fulfill those roles better because you're not focused on one thing. I had a conversation recently about leadership. I was talking with Bruce. He said a leader cannot be one-dimensional, and to not be a butter knife to be a Swiss Army knife. Have multiple tools. And I took that as the leadership side of it, the being in that role. It needs to be applied to every aspect. He'll pause for a moment and think. He'll look around to where Charles was at. We need to think outside the means and bounds of what a theurge is.
Roll me a wits and
figure-
awareness.
Rage.
You said you were angry, so I'm going to say it too.
Okay. Four with a crit.
As you're saying this, as you're going into your dictation, your idea, as your gaze sweeps over the large boulder at the center of the cairn that you know to be Turtle, laid at the feet of that boulder is the body of Charles, wrapped, ready to be interred. And there's someone standing right next to the body. A shadow. Featureless. Not rolling across the ground. No, standing straight up. Foot to foot with where you know the corpse's feet to be laid. You see it on the first pass, and when you go to look back, it's gone. But this isn't a trick of the light, because there's no light to cast a shadow like that. This wasn't a shadow. This was an outline. This was something else.
As he about to go into and pans over and comes back, he'll stop, and then he'll try and keep eyes locked in this situation, and he'll kind of pat Eliza's arm and then have her meet his gaze. There was something there. Over Charles's body, there's a figure, an entity, I don't know, something standing next to it.
Well, what are we doing sitting here?
He'll grab her hand and stand up and pull her over as he goes over towards the body.
As you approach the body, roll me a wits. Actually, let's make this a wisdom and investigation.
Okay. It's another 4, but just regular.
You are bound to the sept. You've said the words. You've sworn your spirit to this place. You can see things that other Guru might not be able to see when visiting. See the spirits of the cairn. As you are inspecting the wrapped up form of Charles, you see this like wispy haze that seems to be attached almost like a toe tag to the form that is Charles. Flickering and faint. It flutters like if it's in a breeze, almost like a torn sheet or a torn flag, the remnants of it just kind of flipping about. Or like when you see the plastic that they put on sidings of buildings as they're constructing it, if it were ripped and there was just the tattered pieces behind. With that, roll me an intelligence and occult.
Anything to do with Banes?
No.
Let's say it's a good thing. Spend a will?
Yeah.
That's 6 with a crit.
As you're looking over this wisp that you were able to see clearly due to the gift that was granted to you by Star, by Turtle, by this place. It is a spirit. But it is not whole. It has been threaded. And this is one of an unknown number of pieces of Charles's spirit attached to his body.
Jace will pull Eliza down and get next to it, getting onto his knees, looking at the wispy part of the spirit. Eliza, have you ever seen a spirit pulled apart, ripped into however many pieces.
Yes. But those were spirits of the Umbra, and their pieces would reform in the spirit wilds. This is different. The fact that it still remains. She holds up a finger and she goes into her trailer and then comes back a moment later with a book. And she opens it, and as you're looking over her shoulder at the page, it's a description of a place called the Shadowlands. You see the term wraith or ghost or spirit mentioned many times. She furrows her brow and closes the book, pushing it aside. There are other spirits called, well, affectionately ghosts, but in reality wraiths. They too can be damaged and torn apart. But not like this. If I had to guess, whatever force binding our spirits here is, it keeps them intact. Even when they're torn apart. If I had to guess, I'm guessing that fight with Zizek tore not just his body, but his spirit apart. But, just like a puzzle, what's torn apart can be put back together. We just have to know where the other pieces are.
He'll pan around, seeing if there's any other like floating, wispy essence of him lying around or attached to anything, the direction in which they came home, trying to find any piece of Charles.
Roll me a wits and investigation.
Three.
As you're looking about, seeing the wisp that seems to be caught on Charles's shoe, basically on his foot, you look over to the training field, the yard he had constructed, he had created, along with the assistance of Jester, and at a time Lucas. And you look towards one of the pels, the posts that have been constructed wrapped in rope, meant to take a great deal of punishment and pain. And just like that loose piece of plastic on siding, on top of one of the pels is another wispy shard, scrap, just wavering off of the post.
He'll tap Eliza. I'll be right back. He'll go over to the post, entering the training grounds, and attempt to try and maneuver the wisp, trying to be as gentle as he can and see if he can even pick it up and interact with it at all.
Just like a hand passing through smoke, it just goes right through.
He'll look at the pel and then to the wisp. I'll get you back together. I understand. And he'll put a hand on it lower his head and then walk back to Eliza and get back down to her level. I think the pieces of Charles are at places in which he strongly connected with. Over there, he'll point towards the training ground. It's another piece. You said that it could be shredded. It can be scattered. That place meant something to him.
You can see that she's looking at you, but she's not making eye contact with you. I don't think it's just places. And she points. And as you follow where she's pointing, you look to your left shoulder, a place that he has grabbed and repositioned your arm so many times when you would be at the gun range trying to perfect your form. Just like that fluttering plastic, there is a little wisp hanging off of your shoulder.
He'll almost try and like baby his shoulder, try not to move too much so it doesn't like flow off. He'll lower his arm a little bit. Like a puzzle. I don't know how we can remend this, but this is a start. At least we know where the pieces can be.
Well, this is beyond my knowledge base. But as Aspen had said, maybe it's not beyond someone else's, especially someone who knows so much about death and dying. If I had to guess, we need a vessel. And that vessel has to be of equal or greater importance for them to depart what they're attached to be made whole again. Now, I don't know how to make such a vessel. I wouldn't even know where to begin, but for a puzzle to be put back together, you need a surface to put it back together on. Right now, it seems that these wisps are clinging to the closest thing they can find of great importance, memories. And it's unlikely to let go of that memory by choice.
I was kind of hoping to avoid the new people for a bit.
It's easy to blame others for what we've lost. But we have to remember that they are going through this experience called life as blind toddlers, same as us. And they lost something too. Now, loss can divide us if we let it, or it can bring us back together. We're all Guru in this fight, regardless of auspice, regardless of tribe. And if we don't get past these divisions between us, we might as well just open the door for the worm to finish the job. They're good people. They're good Guru. They've just been lost for a long time. And now the only thing they considered to be stable, considered to be hopeful, was taken from them. Just like Charles was taken from us.
I'll give him a chance.
He's one of the only ones of them to come actually introduce himself to me, if that tells you anything.
Oh, that actually says a lot. Okay, I'll give him a few chances then. Be nice to Mama Ross.
Keep your eyes open. We don't know where these pieces might be. Some might be obvious, but others might be the most unlikely of places. And I have a feeling we're going to need more than just you, me, and the newcomer to gather them all together.
Luckily, we have someone that knew Charles very, very well.
More than you know. More guru than you know, but that is an excellent start and foundation.
He'll look to the wisps and then back to Eliza. You know, I've missed these never dull moments with you. I didn't get a whole lot of this when I was in charge.
She raises a hand up and presses it against your cheek. I thought we'd have far fewer left. But with everything that's happened, I think we're going to get more than we bargained for.
Sign me up. You know, hold her hand against his cheek.
Over the past several months, there's been this instability in Eliza. Even though she's so good at being the stable point for others, you detected that ominous feeling coming off of her, this tying up loose ends feeling coming off of her. As you look at her now, it's gone. All that remains is stability. We now transition to our next scene. It's now been about 9 days since the events that happened at the Morning Kill Estate. Isidoro, you've given Aspen and Jester and Artie space to settle in, knowing that there is business to be dealt with, but after seeing just how overwhelmed they clearly were upon arrival, even though they were ready to get down to business, even though they were ready to dive in, the last thing you've ever wanted to be is a burden to anyone. But you are a properly trained guru, raised in the nation of punishments and rules and honor. And you knew you couldn't be that guy to just sweep it under the rug. Your honor wouldn't allow it. Charles would have never allowed it. And as you've had time to let your mind go through all those memories of your now lost brother in arms, what are you thinking?
Izzy's last bit of time after the pack is reunited has been a ship in a storm. Every crack of lightning, every new development, casting his attention from one end of the boat that is his mind to the other, trying to make sure that the ship is righted. And even as water pools below deck, He finds that the fortifications of Star and Unicorn, Jason's belief in him, and the knowledge that with Charles gone, he's kind of one of a few dwindling number of elders, and he really can't afford to be mopey or self-defeating. And so he's, especially with the new people, been going the extra mile to make sure that he is, as you said, not a burden. He's always trying to be helpful. And even with punishment looming, he feels the tingling of the bitterness in his chest, and yet he feels resolved that Aspen is the leader of a budding new nation, and though he doesn't know what she'll do, he knows that it will be just. And he's sort of resolved in that anticipation.
So as you call upon some of that strength, that outward showing strength that Charles was known so much to have, to make it look like the ship was fine, regardless of what was happening underneath, you finally approach Aspen within the cairn. Now, Aspen, it's been a very, very hectic few days of resettling in, trying to find out what's been happening with all the different entities and moving parts of your sept, of your nation. Trying to get these new people settled, these new guru. Some are a little bit easier to communicate with than others, but you are doing your best to try and get everything ready for what you know is coming. There's no question about it now. There's no doubt about it. The war is still raging. And it's not in just the vague sense of developmental businesses and pollution. No, this is a physical, literal war. And it's clearly been going on beneath the surface this entire time. It just finally showed its head again. So as you are at your table, having signed several receipts that Artie has brought to you for many purchases that need to be made using your account, trying to draw maybe a little bit upon the law firm's resources as well for some legal protections for some of these purchases. What is going through your mind prior to Izzy's arrival?
There's a lot of distractions right now of trying to put everything in order, trying to make sure everything that needs to be done here so we can move on to the next thing is done. Making sure people are comfortable, making sure we have eyes on the looming threats that don't include the Black Spiral dancers. All of those things that she's not had the reins on for several weeks and has now come back to. She doesn't have the time to grieve, but I don't even know if that's what it is. It's not grief. It's a bubbling fury of her time in Vermont. A fury that she is trying desperately to push so far deep down into her core to get things done. And it is just taking everything in her to keep it at bay because she knows there's things she has to do. But there's going to be a moment, and she knows it's going to happen, and there's going to be a moment soon where that's going to turn into bile in her throat, and she can't keep it held forever.
What rage were you at when you left Vermont?
3.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me a composure and resolve check.
3.
Okay. Your rage has gone down to 2 because of what you described, of shoving it down, of burying it, of rationalizing it, I guess, and giving it direction and purpose. It's still there. And like you said, it's going to bubble up at some point. But for now, you have enough focus, enough resolve, and the composure to boot to keep it down. This is when Isidoro approaches. And as he had said at the meeting, he'd been meaning to meet with you, and thankfully he didn't make it immediate because you had so many other things to tend to that are probably more important than the conversation you expect is coming. But you also have been around Guru, both Hamid and Lupus born. You've come to understand the concept of honor as it relates to Guru. And especially having been in the nation, the real nation, the old nation, you know how important tradition and honor really is. So even if it feels like this isn't important, even if it feels like you could just bypass this with a quick wave of the hand, it's out of respect for those that were raised in this that you are able to contain that irritation or annoyance or just apathy for something like this, to allow this moment to unfold, to allow this to happen, and to think with a clarity and a patience that has helped make you such a good lawyer, that's made you such a good leader. The scene is yours.
Aspen's just going to take a deep breath, look up, smile to Izzy. Good to see you.
You as well? I'm not interrupting anything, am I?
Not at the present moment.
The receipts, then, I take it, are free to be impeded upon. And with that, he'll approach.
They'll be around after this, I'm sure.
Izzy will roll up next to Aspen, and as much as he wants to get directly to the business of it, he knows that he needs to provide some degree of comfort, and the only way he can think of is just sort of deflecting to something that is tactically important, but also not really the main issue, as he goes, you know, I used to file taxes. And with that, he'll pick up one of the receipts. And with his 1 dot in finance, attempt to figure out what the hell he's looking at.
You don't even have to roll for it. These are basically like order manifests for the new trailers, for, you know, insurance to cover the trailers in case of disaster, for all of the logistical, bureaucratic nonsense to give some legitimacy to this. But also you can see that there's orders for food, you know, preservable, non-perishable food, the kind of stuff that a war or an army might need. Especially since water can be polluted, food can be cut off, and even if Guru can go hunting, who's to say there's going to be anything to hunt at some point with this many mouths to feed? With this much Guru energy raging.
As he finishes flipping through the one receipt he managed to get, he gently puts it back, getting the vaguest of impressions, and goes, respectable to be looking at the logistics. I wasn't going to bring it up, but pre you all, the Vermont sects people returning here, we were able to etch out a bit of supplies, especially with additional patrols coming in, but I'm glad to see you're back at the helm, Aspen.
I appreciate it. Something nice about, having the reins again. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess you could say. And
Yeah,
she gives like a weak smile.
Yeah, Jason was very happy to have you return. Obviously, with the specifics of your return being a bit harder to stomach, but leadership's a heavy thing.
Yeah, I need to find a moment whenever I get one of those and tell him how much I appreciate him for that.
Nothing better than the present.
You say that, and then she'll hold up the receipts, but action says otherwise. So tell me, Isidoro. Tell me from your perspective what happened.
I wish I could offer some grand narrative, a real two sides to every story thing, but I trust Jason in his retelling. I'm going to guess it went a little something like this. And with that, he'll slide into one of the table chairs and sort of rest a hand under his cheek as he leans. We were following one of the best trails we had on our mysterious Ricardo. And one of the last addresses we were able to ascertain for him was in a trailer park. We both managed to gather as much information as we could without causing any major incident outside of an irate neighbor coming to tell us to shut the hell up. And then after, we encountered a lightning bug spirit that graced us with the last location it happened to detect our prey. And in doing so, it shot us through the umbra like lightning. And the next thing either of us knew, we were tens of feet up on a cell phone tower. And it was precarious. Obviously, two grown people, let alone the Glabro coming out after. And we managed to make our way down. But there was a point where Jason almost slipped, and I don't know, something for me, not to reiterate that I care about him, but that moment of danger really touched something in me, that wolf side, and I don't remember much detail outside of that. It was like a pinpoint of focus from there on out. I vaguely remember making it down to the ground, him telling me to get moving. I tried getting through a fence line, but that didn't work. And so we jumped over it. And we encountered one of the nearby riots. And I don't know what happened as far as what Jason saw. After the fact, he told me he thought he might have seen our mark. But in the moment, I don't remember. I just remember things on fire, people getting beaten. And he said to me, go take care of those people. Go clear out those rioters. And I did. Because in that moment, I knew I could. But that simplicity was not conducive for defeating them, especially a crowd of half dozen. And by the time I managed to clear the first person off, 5 more people were just blasting me, beating me, punching me. I got the taste of a 2x4, broken piece of pipe. Classics, really. And in that throw of combat, I experienced the fear that Arun are supposed to know well and keep checked, which is mortal panic. And I did. I thought I was going to die, and I used Old Reliable. I frenzied, and I killed one person. I'm pretty sure. Jason says I only did, but I can't be certain. I was raging. And I broke the veil. I fucked it real bad. Not only did I disparage your sept with my actions, but I also fucked over Jason and his, because he had to come save me. I don't want to think about how many more people I might have hurt if he didn't come and calm me down. And at the end of that, he did. By that point, I had disentangled myself from the aggression. And all I could do was mope around and be led like a fucking pup by the hands, as Jason did all the work cleaning up my mess. We buried the body in a gutter. And after that, it was a day until he decided to broach this issue in this way we're kind of doing now. And I didn't know how he really felt. My fear, the fear that was so gracefully imparted to me during my days in the nation, is that those kinds of things are not easily forgiven. And so I offered for him to use the clave in a way he saw fit. Maybe give me a big old gash on my back or cut off a finger as a reminder. After all, the child and guy are raging out. But he was a kind of leader that knew to not just let the blame fall with me. And I've seen leaders in the old nation where the second anything goes wrong, it's everyone else's fault. And I'm sure you, as a Silver Fang, have seen that yourself. But he did what I didn't expect, which was he said he was angry with me. He said that my punishment up until you got back was to sit and think on it. And that he was sorry he didn't see my confusion at the time.
Okay.
So here I am.
Well, first off, understanding the litany and the things that you've described, it doesn't seem that Jace has any grievances, correct?
He said he was angry with me, but I think I'm more so disappointed in.
So no challenges he wishes to enact?
Not that I'm aware of.
And you asked him to use that clave. She points behind her.
He nods. He took it off the wall, held it, and dove it into the dirt.
Interesting. Do you know where that clave comes from?
Kent. I don't believe it's come up. I was just told that it was a ceremonial clave that belonged to Aspen. I think that was the extent of the details.
You got it.
I know it's yours. I know that you keep it up there as a centerpiece. That's about it.
Yeah, kind of. And she'll pull it off from where it stands,
Izzy gets nervous.
puts it on the table. The pack made this for me. Combined effort. The symbols, she'll point out the symbols. The story of us getting the tear for Eliza way back.
This was the one where, you'll have to forgive my memory, someone fell deep into a pit or off a building. What was the nature of that story?
We were fighting a remnant
Uh-huh.
for the tear, and the moon was needed. We were able to get the moon to the pack. Artie and I jumped from the roof down. I'm not great with stories like Jester. Feels weird telling a story that's supposed to be about you. But anyways, it's kind of the start of all this for us.
And was that the start of your leadership, would you say?
I don't know if that's the exact moment I would say, but I know when we came back and Eliza was deciding whether or not she wanted to come back to the fold, really come back, she said there needed to be a leader. There needed to be somebody. And it was funny. Aiden looked at me and said, That's you. That's your tribe. That's what you're supposed to do. Funny and ironic now. But I don't use it. This, and she taps on it. Because I've decided through all of this, through everything I've seen, being the leader, I don't want to do it the way it's always been done, or the way people think that it should be. I don't think there's plenty, sure, but I don't think every problem needs to be solved with bloodshed and with tooth and claw, or with some sort of anger. I know that's what we're fueled by in a lot of ways, but I don't think blood needs to happen to make a point. And that's why this sits up there. Because I don't want blood touching it, because it's a representation of how I want things done here.
Izzy will examine the various symbols and glyphs on the clave before getting a bit more understanding into the nature of the gift and Aspen's aspirations as a leader. I think that it is a wonderful idea. I agree that the nation has in its time kept that warrior ethos to a T. And as someone molded by it, I would say overindulged at points to the detriment of not only us as Garu, but to Gaia, to everyone. I just wish that it doesn't make you passive. Because unfortunately, and this is, I wish this is my moon talking, but even as a child of Gaia, I know that there are times when words and such do not reach people. And there are very few options past that point.
I agree. I mean, we see where we are now. The beginnings of war, really, if we say it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think nothing should be solved with tooth and claw or with bloodshed. I just think it needs to be a reason, a really good reason. And I don't think there's a reason that I've come across yet to use it. And
Not
I
even
wouldn't
right now?
say this reason, this situation. There's far more interesting things I've been through, and I would tell you that this would not be even in the top 5 of situations I would use this in. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't be punished, Isidoro.
Was my next question. So the clave is off the table proverbially.
Well, let's just put it off the table and she'll go and put it back. What do you think should happen? What do you think your punishment should be in this scenario?
I want to make a joke about the old nation again, but I think the punishment should have been something about the person I killed.
What have you done about the person you killed?
Unfortunately, Jason and I were only able to move their body into the sewer. And I tried looking for ID in the moment, but it was just, there wasn't anything. I didn't recognize them. I'm honestly a bit at wit's end in that regard, because at that point, I don't know what else. It should be restitution, that much I agree, but if not to the person who died, then to what?
Well, I also think part of the situation was you not completely thinking things through in the moment. Can we agree on that?
I wish I could say I didn't think things through, because I did. And the thought process was just not a very good one.
Well, then to think twice. So you say you don't know how to rectify this person that you've hurt, that you've killed. Let's not flower it. But there are other ways. There's no way that there was no report, or there's no information digging that you could do to find out and help the people around them. Anonymously, of course, because that would be, we don't need another lifting of the veil in any way, right?
Not on my watch.
But I think the biggest thing is you got to make sure that doesn't happen again. And the only way to make sure that doesn't happen again is to make sure you're the one to stop this. All of that is happening in our city right now. That burden is on you.
Aspen, I would like you to make a wits and etiquette test.
Four.
Throughout history, there have been conflicts, to say the least. Some that have been purposeful, beneficial, some that have been terrible and unnecessary. Some are revered, some are regretted. One thing that many of those conflicts had, dating back a bit further than these modern times, respect for the dead. Either the remains would be returned to whatever army or country or family that they were taken from, or even they were just buried, like the grave of the unknown soldier. What didn't happen in those respectful circumstances were their remains being dumped into a sewer. It's a quick fix for sure to preserving the veil, stopping the police from knowing. But is it honorable? No. Is it respectful? No. And even if they were an enemy, a problem, a trigger, a whatever the case may be, to the point that they suffered the fate that they did, it's not really a respectful way to handle the situation. Not if you want to be someone who can hold your head up high and throw your shoulders back and carry yourself with a certain pride that is earned, a pride that isn't a deadly sin. Maybe something Isidoro can do beyond all of the wonderful things that you've mentioned is give that poor victim a proper burial, or at least give them to someone who could. Because otherwise, they're just another missing person. They're just another incomplete story. Erased, vanished, and defiled. And one thing you've seen firsthand recently is what an enemy does when it doesn't have respect. When it defiles and desecrates and destroys. And if that is an enemy in your future, you certainly don't want to act like them, because then what's the point in fighting? You may continue.
So, you're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. Not just what you did, but the whole situation that happened. Why it happened. The reason it was there in the first place. And if you need help with that, Jester's my second, and I have her on that with you. To help ensure that that doesn't happen again. As far as that person goes, their death, they deserve something better than being in a sewer. Their families deserve something better.
Yeah. Yeah. I assuming they're still where we left them, I should be able to get the body, but who are there any of the Garu here that would be open to dealing with the dead like that?
We have a new person. His name is Brother Varga. He can help you with making sure respects are paid. You could also talk to Jester. We do have a memorial gardens. It's an option, but then again, it's a little iffy, but Chloe runs that. I trust that you can figure this out, that you can undo what was done. The people who were hurt.
I can do that, Aspen. So,
Also, you don't have time to beat yourself up.
I know. It's just, I don't know, it feels like a coping mechanism at this point.
I get it.
After so long, even when I'm in the middle of things, it sometimes rears its head, and I really don't like doing it.
Yeah, and you've really got to get out of that mind space that your fellow guru, your pack, helping you in situations like that is a burden on them. Or that they will feel like that is a burden to them. Because if you can't trust them, what are we doing here?
You're right. I wish I could have more words to say, but when you're right, you're right. I don't mean to pull the focus away from my punishment. Assuming we're done meeting it out, I understand fully what I have to do now.
Unless you need a couple of punches, I can't say I'm the one that'll be the good one to do that, but if it makes you feel better.
Hey, it's within your right.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Are you doing okay? It's a stupid question, I know, but like, you're doing this, and with that he gestures to the spreadsheets and the receipts and everything. I can't imagine the trip back was too mournful of a time.
There's a lot. There's a lot that happened there. That I think is going to take some processing. But I promise you I'll be okay.
Okay. I just wish you, for all the stuff you gave me about trusting in the pack, I trust you to do the same. Because I know it's going to sound really odd, maybe in this moment, but I was in a similar position to you. And I didn't have a pack, and let me tell you, when they're not there, it sucks so bad.
Yeah. Are you doing okay, Isidoro? I know Charles meant a lot to you.
I'm pretty mad at him right now. Because the last I saw him, he was with Jester, and we were by the training thing they set up, and it's when he first told me he was going to make me Wormfoe, and we promised after he dropped the bullshit Child of Destiny shit that when he gets back, everything's going to be hunky-dory. He's going to have to crawl his way out of that sept if they decide to hold him there. No way in hell. And he always... Maybe I'm leaning too much on the auspice again, but for our runes, you always sort of know a lot of that jovialness hides the fact that there is a high expectation that the next time might not come again. And I didn't think it happened for him. I thought I would be the one to bite it. And it just makes you feel that much more alone. Where you see other people, but they sometimes feel like strangers. The world doesn't have that familiarity as much anymore. A bit different from what you know, what you knew. Still, though, if he didn't think I was fit to be Wormfoe, he wouldn't have said it. And he knows that even if I'm pissed and angry at him for dying, that I can at least be there to do what he can't right now.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's much of anything in this grief, but you can lean on us whenever you need.
I kind of already am.
She'll kind of look down at her hands, and she'll get up from the table, and she'll just walk over and give Izzy a hug.
Izzy's a bit stilted for a moment before he really puts his hands, interlocking them around and squeezing tight as he closes his eyes, feeling probably the first touch of affection in a long time as he gives a hearty pat. And hey, you know, I know Jason said he's not cut out for leadership, but if you need a moment, he's good for it.
We're going to do a lot of leaning on each other from here on out, so.
He'll break the hug. Stand up from the chair. Okay, I need to make preparations. You need to balance a checkbook. Very important duties, both of us.
Yeah. You be good out there.
You be okay.
Isidoro eventually stands up, turns and starts to walk away. Izzy, what are you thinking about this entire encounter with Aspen?
I think he sees more and more of the allure of Aspen's new nation. Like, that's sort of like the top layer. Seeing how she handled a definite, like, issue. How the punishment fit. It wasn't inherently violent or needlessly cruel. And then as he thinks about, okay, I need to do XYZ to handle this body thing, he thinks about Aspen's talk about relying on the pack and how he feels instilled with purpose again in a way that he is reminded of his time with Charles, where there was a direction handled. He went, yeah, this makes sense. This fits well. And he felt at ease. And that layer sort of breaks for a moment as he realizes that Charles isn't here anymore. And there is that pang of sorrow before he hoists himself back up, going, if he's not, then I at least need to be for other people right now, as Wormfell. And he nods, thinking that Aspen is going to be a hell of a leader in the time to come.
As Izzy departs, a breeze washes its way through the cairn. It flutters the stack of papers placed in front of Aspen, and as those pages, Aspen, you are transported to the last time you heard a similar sound. Only in your mind, of course. A dark night, a wooden throne, torches lining a pathway. As a man who dedicated his entire life to his nation, his tribe, had it all taken away in the crumbling of a figurine. A silver falcon perched upon the headrest of that throne, staring impassively at this course of action that takes place. Uncaring, unmoving, in full judgment. As the pages settle and you're still sat at the table, the memory fades and that anger that you've been able to stuff down returns, bubbling back up inside of you. Because not only were you transported in your mind to that time, but you were transported in body to that time. So you are at a rage 4. What do you do?
So I see the papers, the table's there. But am I back in the cairn or am I still?
You never left. This was just a memory.
No, I mean, it's like my body. Do I feel okay?
You're still there.
I look around. I go into a tote that she keeps at the cairn. And I grab a few things out of it and I storm off into the woods.
As you pass beyond the clearing into the trees itself, going further and further into the Bawn, away from this place of peace, this place of settled, even-keeled business. This place where disputes are resolved, not with violence, not with vitriol, but with compassion and kindness, understanding, just like this last issue was resolved. You enter to the woods, a place of untamed nature, a place for predators, feral. Eventually you walk so far that you can't even see the clearing itself. You're deep in the thick of it. A lot of that temperate cool that the cairn offers has waned, and you can feel that sticky heat and humidity starting to crawl its way in. What do?
I take the things that I've had stuffed under my armpit and I just kind of slam them onto the ground. One candle, another candle, another candle. And I reach into my purse and I slam down and I stop. And I look at the Falcon symbol, the little trinket that I've had. And there's a moment where it just burns up her arm with just this anger. She slams it down the rest of the way and she pulls out a lighter from her pocket and she flicks it and she flicks it and she flicks it. She's so angry. She can't just get it to light until she finally does. And she lights all 3 of the candles. And she stands there. And she just screams, "Falcon!"
Roll me an honor and persuasion.
You said rage 4, yes?
Mm-hmm.
5.
As you scream out the name with all of the rage and anger that you can muster in this possible moment, this isn't a request. This is a demand, a command to your patron to answer. In this case, Aspen can be very persuasive, as she always has been. And the sound of fluttering wings fills your ears deafeningly and loud, causing you to almost clench your eyes shut. And this is where you find yourself now physically transported. A tree very similar to the one that you found yourself in front of stands tall, looming. The branches, though, are barren of leaves. And the bark is blackened. At the moment, there is no one to be seen. You know you were brought here. You know only a handful of entities could do that.
She looks around. She stares at the tree, kind of licking at the side of her teeth, her heart pounding, and she starts pacing. Of course you wouldn't come. Of course you just bring me here. For what? To watch me wallow? To watch me angry? Because you got nothing else to say? Because you were quite loud about that prophecy, weren't you? About both, I'd assume? Isn't that crazy? You've been working double duty, haven't you? Making sure that all of your little tribe is in order so that they could run this. What are they running now, Falcon? Nothing. There's nothing left to run. But they're still going to do their best to manipulate because you asked them to. They're going to do their best to hold on to the little bits that are left because you asked them to. And they die because you asked them to. Why? Are you some deity we're all beholden to? Some magical, mystical creature that holds themselves to a higher station than all of us when we're all supposed to be fighting the same thing, Falcon? The same thing! You're not better than us. You're not greater than us. You don't get to tell us half the story and expect us to march like soldiers for you. What is this? You see them. You see what they've become because of you leading them, teaching them, giving them your prophecies. What good did it do? Because from my perspective, not a whole lot. The king's dead. Charles is dead. The people you had working your magic for you up in their high tower, pieces of the human spirit wolf that they were, now they're here. No home, nothing to hold on to. Sure, we've all got something to fight, but you knew that, right? Or did you? Because it sure seems like you knew part of a plan that I had no idea about, that none of us had any idea about. And if this was your plan, if you knew this the whole time and said nothing and knew that this is how this was going to be, you're no patron spirit. You're just as manipulative and secretive and corrupted as the thing we fight against on a regular basis. What did it get you? I hope you're happy as you perch somewhere where I can't be seen, coward. I just hope you're fucking happy.
What would you have me say?
Oh, I don't know. Probably what I always expect you to say. Oh, that this is how it's meant to be, and this is how leadership is done sometimes. And sometimes we can't give all the answers. It's up to you to lead, to push the people forward, to do what needs to be done, to be those people. That's the Silver Fangs after all, isn't it? I don't know what I expect you to say, because I don't think anything you say matters anymore.
That what you think?
I don't think someone who gives prophecies with no direction and no care of the lives that are hurt, that the people it will destroy, that isn't a reason to be a part of this, not just a narrator or a just like the tribe, just perched on your high tower watching it all crumble. But at least your people are where they need to be, right? At least your people will still pick at the bones of the carcass they created, while the rest of them starve, right?
Were you not the one who said sometimes you have to let something die?
I was honest about it. I didn't have some foresight of what might come or what could come. I didn't have something you could have given me. I didn't have it because you didn't give it to me, because you didn't want to, because you give this with no direction. You act as if it's a choice. It's not a choice. It's a bunch of words that bring fear, that bring confusion. bring the worst out of people. You chose to do that for all of us. That's what you chose. And you could have done something. You sat there. You sat there while his tribe was taken away. I saw you sit there. You could have done something with the king. You saw him. He was ready to be back in the fold. You saw it. I know you did. Don't tell me you didn't. You saw him. You saw all of them. The way they acted before, the way they were slaughtered after. You saw it and you didn't do anything. Nothing. Besides squawk your little prophecy.
Why would I give you something you're not meant to have?
That's the problem, Falcon. You act like it's only for this group when it affects everyone. You don't think that affected every guru? Every single person now is fighting a war that some of them don't even know yet. Some of them are completely unaware and might still be unaware when it strikes them down because you think the privilege is for the privilege. And that's what I've learned about my tribe, is that they all are for the privileged. Again, the ones that get to pick at the carcass while the others starve. They deserve it, right? The ones you deem fit deserve it. The ones you see as your little order, your little group. Well, I've watched the way others are treated in that nation that you all desperately want to hold on to. Well, it's gone now. It's gone now. And you could have done something. You could have done anything. You could have done anything is more than what you did.
What if I just took your advice?
Which part, Falcon?
Let it go. Let it die. So that something new can be born.
Is that not what is already happening? Is that not what it's already happening? You did let it go. By doing nothing, that's what you did. You let it go. What do you...
Isn't that what you wanted?
I think you and I both know I'm not as cryptid to know or to think that that's how I wanted that to go. But I don't get...
Not in action, but intent.
I wanted that to happen. I stand here every day making sure my sept is okay, making sure that the future has something to look forward to, that people have something to live for, and you think that's by me saying something needs to die so something else can come up, you think that's what I meant? Then you don't know me at all, Falcon. Maybe you do. Why am I even part of this? Because I'm obviously not fitting into your grand scheme of what you need.
Or are you?
More talking in circles and half-truth bullshit, Falcon. I'm so sick of it. Say what you mean, or I'm done here.
You came here to do something. Something you've thought about doing time and time again. Every time you looked around that room. Your disgust, your disdain. Who's being prideful now, Aspen Weiss?
Well, I can at least give you one last thing you've wanted before I walk away, can't I? And she'll cut her hand. And she'll walk over to one of the candles. I am unmarked. And she'll squeeze her hand as the blood drips onto the candle. She'll walk over to the next one. I am unclaimed. The last one, she lets her hand pool with blood as she stares at Falcon. I am alone. Just lets the blood drip.
Much as it happened to Charles, you feel something break. Not to you, by you. That being the crucial difference in this scenario. This right of departing one's tribe willingly, it's not done lightly. And it's often regarded as damning. Because to do this is to become forsworn. To become forsworn is to be without a patron, without a tribe. So as that last bit of blood drips down onto the candle, it extinguishes it. And everything goes dark. As if all light is sapped from the place. And then, through the dark, come the stars. One after another, dotting the sky, one by one, providing light where there is no light. Many have looked to the stars for guidance, guidance to freedom, guidance to home. And then comes the sounds of the forest, the chirping of crickets, the sound of the breeze going through the tree branches. You are alone, just as you requested. In the forest once more. The forest where you set down these candles. The forest where you called out, demanding, commanding the presence of your patron. And you were answered. But would it have really mattered if you weren't?
I pick up the figurine and I kind of spin it in my hand. And I just chuck it into the woods.
As it goes clattering off of a tree, dropping into the leaves and grass below. You are forsworn. You are a guru with no tribe. That doesn't necessarily mean you are a guru with no family. This is where our story comes to a close this evening. But not without one last seen. We return to the dark, the empty void, the black and still and cold. While there's nothing to see, sight can still be had, for there is a river moving through the darkness. And the stillness is broken by the low, wailing moans of the dead. Along that river bobs a boat. And on that boat stands a man dressed all in white. A white so vibrant that it almost glows amidst this darkness. He paddles the boat with a long wooden stick, digging it into the water as it slowly makes its way, bobbing along. Propped up against the edge of the boat is a long-handled scythe with a long hooked blade at the end of this handle. And on the edge of that blade flows a wisp of Charles's spirit. This is where our story comes to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to everyone watching at home. We're back, baby, and it's better than ever. We're so happy you were here to watch this with us. As we are back, we've got a new episode of Hellhounds this week. We've got a new episode of Red Tide Rising this week. We are back in it full time. So if you like what you see, go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see listed down below. Join our community by following that Discord link. And if you really like us, support us on the Ko-fi for as low as $5 a month. You can get access to all kinds of behind the scenes featurettes, including the rosebud thorns of this very session and a whole bunch of sneak peeks and extras and all kinds of cool things. So go sign up for that Ko-fi. It really, really does mean the world to us, and it really does help support this program, this channel, and this community. So thank you so much for that. For these amazing players, I'm Kent. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.